So I saw this question posted online. It was Facebook or Reddit, I can't really remember. And it was such an innocently asked question, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a super fun video. And the question asked was, I'm about to start a 2-man campaign with my buddy and a DM. What are the best 2 classes for a 2-member campaign? So here is my breakdown of the 2 absolutely best, completely unsubjective, clearly provable, and indisputable Dungeons & Dragons 5e classes to play in a 2-party 5th edition campaign. Okay, so we've got 12 classes to choose from, which leaves us with 144 possible combinations, assuming we can have 2 of the same class. So let's go ahead and try to trim that down a bit first. First off, I'm just going to throw out the monk, because monks are lame. Seriously, you can't punch a dragon. Magical swords and spells, I get that. But Key, it totally just breaks down my immersion, so come on, get out of here. Oh, the comments on this video are going to be great. But on a more serious note, I'm going to dump the monk here because I simply think that they are outclassed in 5th edition from a damage standpoint by fighters and barbarians, and because I don't think that they bring the same flexibility to the group as bards, paladins, or even the ranger. And finally, I'm not really sure from the roleplay side that they really gel as well as some of the other classes. I mean, Monk Ranger just seems kind of like a weird 2-man campaign. However, I will say that I do think a 2-monk party could make for a more interesting story, but nevertheless, monk is out of here. Next up, I'm going to dump the sorcerer and the warlock. Not because I think that there is really anything wrong with these classes at all, but rather just to make things a little bit simpler. Because they're so close with the wizard, and with the wizard having more flexibility than the sorcerer and more spell slots than the warlock, you know, I think it just makes more sense to consider the wizard if you want an arcane caster. And finally, for the sake of this video, let's say that we simply cannot duplicate any classes, so now we're left with 9 classes and only 72 possible combinations, so we've narrowed down the field by at least half. And for the sake of fair comparisons, let's assume our starting level is 5. This is where melee classes pick up extra attack, casters get 3rd level spells, and rogues get that 3rd sneak attack die. Okay, next up, let's look at categorizing these classes, which is, again, clearly not subjective in the least. So let's do it like a video game, because really, that's all D&D is, right? A video game you play on pen and paper. First up is beat sticks. These are our frontline DPSers. Secondary DPS, classes that can throw some hurt, but are better complemented by beat sticks like rogue, bard, wizard, etc. Tanks, beat sticks with armor and health, and finally healers, classes that can, you know, heal and stuff. While a lot of these classes have a range of different things that they can do and can do well, like Arcane Archers and Tempest Clerics, we're really going to just cap each class at their best 2 tags, so to speak. So first up, we have the beat sticks. In this category, we have fighters, barbarians, and paladins. So who is the king of the castle in this group? Fighters might have the most flexibility here, even more so than paladins. They can make for an incredible frontline fighter and even flex into a dex-based, dual-wielding with finesse weapons, dagger-throwing skirmishers, and even formidable archers. Action Surge also gives them a great little burst, and Second Wind will help keep them on their feet, and a fighting style of your choice, again, goes a very long way. Barbarians at first glance look like they might just hit the hardest, and with a 2-member campaign, you probably won't be running out of rages as easily either, because most likely, at least hopefully, you'll be involved in fewer combats. And when it comes to actually survivability, taking half damage is never a bad thing. Paladins may actually be the hardest hitting of this group though, if you save your smites for crits, doubling down all that smite damage and being able to double down 6 spell slots worth of smites, again if you can manage to actually get off a crit, can make for a very bursty character. Slap on a fighting style and you've got a character every bit as good as the fighter at our 5th level viewpoint. So I'll go with Barbarian 1 as Reckless Attack is just too good here at level 5, Paladin 2, and then Fighter 3. Next up, we have the secondary DPSers, Bard, Ranger, Rogue, and Wizard. But first, it is sponsor time. Gotta pay some bills. Huge shout out to my newest sponsor, and one I'm actually incredibly excited about joining the Taking 20 team. That's Q Workshop. So here's the deal. I might have a small obsession with dice. I love them, and you know what? I'm not even a little bit sorry about it. And if Q Workshop sounds familiar to you, but you can't quite put a finger on where you've seen them before, they're that team that makes those absolutely sick, like custom Elven, Dwarven, Cthulhu dice for just a ton of different games, including the Starfinder dice that they did for Against the Aeon Throne and Dead Sons. But right now they're in the middle of their brand new Kickstarter, going for a ton of new sets that they're going to release, which they were so kind as to send me a few. And I got to tell you, these things are absolutely stunning, and I cannot wait to use them at the table. So I'll put a link down in the description box below that'll take you right to that Kickstarter where you guys can go and check it out for yourself. I'm a big fan of their like vampire black with the silvery ones. Like, no joke, they're legit. Now, I've always been a huge fan of bards, that's no secret, and with dexterity being arguably one of the most important stats in the game, if not the most, bards definitely shine in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition among the classes. Unfortunately, the bard's best bet in this category is probably limited to the College of Whispers if we're just strictly talking about playing at level 5. Valor, Swords, and Lore, however, all become much more viable choices if you are looking forward in the campaign, as at the next level they pick up extra attack and additional magical secrets. However, the bard can still throw damage and has a ton of flexibility, including access to Healing Word, which we all already know is the single best spell in the game. Period. Rangers are tough for me because they can be a bit like the monk and barbarian when it comes to just pure flavor. When I think about a 2-member campaign, I kind of think inner city story stuff, maybe getting mixed up in an assassin's guild or with a powerful mob boss, and Ranger doesn't really scream any of those things. But as far as secondary damage dealers, the Monster Slayer hits like a truck, and they get fighting styles of their own as well as extra attacks, so they definitely make for a beefy choice. Rogues are absolutely built for this category, simply because of sneak attack. I mean, damn, 3d6 plus weapon doubling on crits, that's pretty heavy. Not to mention from the roleplay perspective, I mean, come on, Rogue. It is absolutely perfect for a 2-member campaign. And then we have the Wizard, who gets Fireball. 2 of them, actually. Web, Detect Magic, plenty of RP options for storylines. Wizards make for a pretty damn good choice here as well. But in the end, I'll go Rogues 1 for RP reasons, Bard 2 because Bards are cool and because they're the only ones on this list that actually have access to Healing Word, and because Bards are so cool. Wizards 3 because no Healing Word, and Rangers 4 because someone has to be 4th. Next up is Tanks, the MMO equivalent of Al from Full Metal Alchemist. We're talking about barbarians, fighters, druids, and clerics. Paladin is only left off this list here because, hey, the rules say only 2 tags. And a world without rules is, well, it's anarchy. Like letting a horse loose in a hospital. So we've basically got barbarians who use rage to take up half damage, then druids who can wild shape back and forth, giving themselves an even bigger pool of hit points than a barbarian, and then the other 2 classes that use heavy armor and shields. I'm not going to break this down any further than that. Give me druids as the number 1 tank, followed by barbarian, fighter, and then cleric. And finally, we have dudes and dudettes that can heal. We have the cleric, the paladin, the druid, the bard, and the ranger. Obviously, number 1 is the cleric, and then things sort of kind of break down into a tie. There really isn't much difference between the bard and druid, so give me both of them at 2, followed up by the paladin, and then of course finishing up with the ranger. Okay, so based off of purely mathematical numbers, we have our top 3 pairings for classes. Oh god. These rankings are based off of the categories of covering your bases, roleplay, synergy, double healing capabilities, and complementary flexibility. Coming in 3rd place is the Druid Barbarian combo. This combo is pretty great and has almost everything that you can ask for in a 2-member campaign. Both classes can take a beating, the Barbarian throws as much damage as anybody, the Druid is a full caster class with access to both arcane and divine spells, including Healing Word obviously, and to top everything off, I can see a lot of synergy on the nomadic roleplay side of things. I can just picture two Outlanders coming together after a barbarian village was threatened by an evil presence growing in the nearby forest, with the tribe sending off their strongest warrior to slay the evil, where they then run into a druid trying to do something similar, or maybe even having the two escape capture together by an orc tribe united under a hag coven out in the wilderness. And on and on. Absolutely great combo here, with the only shortcoming being that if the druid goes down, the barbarian can't pick them back up with a quick heal. The second best combo in the game is the Bard Paladin. I really like this combo for a multitude of reasons. The Bard is one of those classes that starts off just a touch slow and builds quickly kind of in the mid game. But because we are looking at starting at level 5, most of that stuff is already behind us. Want an archer? Grab the Valor Bard. Want arguably the best caster class in the game? Lore Bard is there for you to grab Counterspell in just one more level. Double healing with this group? Check. Tank? Check. High DPS from both classes? Check. Roleplay? Hysterically check. Both have really high charismas, and oh, the stories you could tell with a traveling bard and the paladin whom he now owes a life debt to. You could have them both buy in and both be incredibly charming, perhaps even representatives of an organization like the Harpers, out investigating terrible and mysterious things to report back. Or you could have an increasingly irritated paladin putting up with all of the BS and shenanigans of his companion in a comedian and straight man vibe. Bottom line, this group can handle themselves both in and out of a fight, and they cover all the bases that you would want. And finally, the absolute best, indisputable two classes in a two-man Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2-member campaign is the Druid Paladin. Damn, talk about two classes that can do just about anything. They can both tank, throw out serious damage, heal one another, and cast spells, and the Druid also covers you for arcane capabilities. There is no better two-class combo as far as power level in the game. Don't even think about it. Just accept the truth, guys, and move on. It's clearly not subjective, even in the least. The one thing I will say is that while it may seem a bit lacking on the roleplay side, that is really a dungeon master and player thing, and I absolutely believe you can work up a great story for the characters to explore with any of the classes here, except for Monk, of course. Though I do think that the story here lends itself perhaps to a tiny bit more of a serious one than maybe some of the other combos. But again, a creative DM with a pair of players working together to form a cohesive narrative won't have any issues on this front, guys. It's all about collaboration. And for a bonus pick here, my personal favorite for the most interesting and fun two classes to play is, of course, the Bard Rogue. And if you want to get an idea of what the quintessential two-man Bard Rogue party might look like, you need to simply watch Road to El Dorado with Miguel and Tulio.
Both is good.
So there it is, comment section. Come at me. I'm kidding, of course, but seriously, this list is it's just fact. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Clearly, I had a lot of fun with this video and topic, and I hope you guys didn't take it too seriously. But I do want to ask, what do you guys think? If you were starting a two-member campaign next week, what two classes would you play? Or if you're a dungeon master, what two classes would you love to create a campaign for? Also, just from a purely power gaming standpoint, do you guys think you could do any better than what I came up with? I want to stop for a moment and just say thank you to all of my absolutely incredible patrons over at welcomeadventures.com. Guys, I cannot tell me how much your support of even $1 a month means to me. I make more from $1 a month on Patreon than hundreds and hundreds of views on a video, and it helps me keep a roof over my family's head. So thank you so very much. If you enjoy my channel and you found any of my content helpful or hopefully a little bit entertaining, you can become an adventurer yourself and grab some exclusive rewards like monthly maps, etc. over at welcomeadventures.com. And if you guys decide not to, don't worry, I'll still keep making videos for you guys right here on YouTube. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.